Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the 9th edition of LFP Live. My name is Connor. I've got Brian and Elliot here with me today. The full crew is here.
Full crew.
Full crew, and I think I know why, because something happened yesterday that I think everyone had to show up. But first of all, fellas, how we doing?
Oh, boy, am I doing great.
I'm doing good. A little tired, but, not that it really matters too much because we already know who's going to win. But I got the Masters up on the TV in front of me, so got to have it on.
Yeah. You and Adam Lowry both. I don't know if you guys saw the jacket presentation yesterday, but Lowry was like, all right, Masters Sunday, let's go. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's here with us live Sunday morning, right at 9 a.m. Rat River Rebel, this comment was at 8:19. I know it's a thing on this. Like Matt Hyman is always the first. He was at 8:44 today with the good morning. But Matt, you're gonna have to, set your alarm even earlier now. You got beat there by a good half an hour. All jokes aside, thank you to everyone. Chat is absolutely firing. Like I said, I think I know why. Let's start with yesterday, Brian. Just kind of the shock factor of the fact that the Jets went into Colorado, and like it still is mind-boggling to say this. They went into Colorado and won 7-0 in a game that you called game 0.5 of the playoff series, because like these teams are going to play in a week.
Yep.
What'd you see?
I saw perhaps. I mean, I'll start early, because it felt like it was one of those win the first period, win the game sort of situations where obviously that happened. But I said to you guys in the chat that we have, I don't recall, given the circumstances, I do not recall a better first period the Jets have played in like the last 5 years. I
agree.
Yeah.
I truly that is the single best showing of like, hey, this is a huge game. We need to win this game. And you come out and you drop 4 on Colorado in their barn, chase their starter, which we'll get to obviously, but
the shots were like 15-3.
Yeah. But like we'll get to this later, but just absolutely burying Georgiev early. It was just demeaning. You could tell the entire they showed a picture of Nate McKinnon with just like 1,000-yard stare on the bench, just like, I don't know what's happening right now. But yeah,
it's it was crazy. Elliot, how did you take in the game? What was going through your mind when the Jets, I don't know, the 2 fastest goals in franchise history, by the way, Morrissey's 3rd and then Lowry the 4th goal to go up 4-0. So within 10 seconds, it was 4-0 Jets in that first period. What was going through your mind in that first?
It was nuts. I don't like Brian said, that was probably the best period we've seen the Jets play, bar none, in the last 5 years. Now, I will say that it really felt like, and I don't want to sound like a party pooper here, but they played really well, but they also took every single chance that they got and it went in, right? So you also have to kind of take that into account. So when, yes, the end of the game was only shots were I can't remember what the final shot totals were, but it's not like the Jets put up 60 shots and they scored 7 goals. They only put up high 20s, low 30s, and they scored 7, right? So it was really beautiful play. That's really all it is. It's just guys were playing really hard, and well, I'm sure we'll get to him in a minute, and his name's been mentioned in the chat a couple times. Kyle Connor decided to be a playmaker yesterday, and I'm hoping that he realizes that. Yeah, I'm hoping he looks at that and goes, "Oh wow!" So if I actually kind of track back in the defensive zone sometimes, and I don't shoot the puck every time I get over the blue line, I can make some plays. So he set up 2 beautiful goals. And just to talk about the Morrissey goal, it's a seeing eye shot, right?
Monahan should have that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Monahan's there. Georgiev probably should have that. And then Adam Lowry just outworked. He just outworked. It
was Makar, by the way.
Yeah, he outworked Makar.
He just outmuscled in the crease, and Georgiev let a rebound spit basically right in front of him. And Adam Lowry's bigger and stronger than anyone in the crease, so he's gonna win that battle.
Yep, and they made the most of their opportunities, but they also knew where they need to be at the right times. I think too something that needs to go not go unnoticed is Nathan McKinnon was quite quiet. Like this wasn't like it was Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen running around the Jets and they just couldn't score, and then the
Mhm.
Jets went down the other way and scored. No, this was the Jets shut down McKinnon for the most part, and then
Yeah.
just took advantage of their opportunities.
For sure. And then I thought there would be a little bit of a lull going into that second period, but no, they just kept rolling. It was what's the name of Colorado's backup who they put in? Last name
Justice
Annunen?
Annunen.
Annunen. Right. They put him in and wasn't much better, but that's going to be something that we're going to be discussing at length when we talk about this series is the goaltending advantage. And look, there's an advantage having the best goalie in the world, obviously, but there's also the advantage where both goalies on the side of the Avalanche are sub 900 guys. Like it's not like we have the Vezina Trophy winning goaltender over here in Winnipeg, and Colorado has like just league average goaltending. No, it's like it's the top of the totem pole and the bottom because
not to mention we also
struggle.
have the best backup in the league as well. Like
yeah, that's the thing too, where it's like Georgiev struggles a lot. Like he went into the game yesterday at an 899. Annunen had a higher save percentage when he came into the game yesterday, but his sample size is lower, so that definitely took a hit. I think their third goalie they've used this year is Ivan Prosvetsov, I think is his name. He used to play in I think he was with the Coyotes, I think.
yes, that would be correct.
But you look at it and you go, unless, as we know, goalies are voodoo. But if you look at past sort of play and how all of those guys have done, I feel a lot better about that matchup. And that's just nice to not worry about.
Yeah,
for sure. And then we talk about the depth. We talk about the fact that, yeah, outside of Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, I know it was Mikko Rantanen's first game back from his concussion that he suffered. It was a little bit of rust there. I don't know. Did you guys notice Casey Middlestad or Val Nichushkin or Devon Taves?
I think maybe Dan Robertson said Taves once, Middlestat once.
Okay, well, he touched the puck. I'm not saying like Dan Robertson didn't say his name. Like I know he was playing. I didn't
notice Nichushkin.
Like
I did see Middlestat a bit.
Yeah.
Just because, like,
I meant, like, did you see them make an impact?
That's I mean, Middlestat a little. Like him and Rantanen were cycling the puck fairly well early in the game before things got out of hand, but then once things kind of spiraled for them, I didn't see anyone, stand out really. And I'm wondering too, like with McKinnon being held relatively in check. In terms of, because like obviously you can't not see him out there with how he skates, but I wonder if there is any level of our depth can't score, how quickly Colorado puts Rantanen up with McKinnon again.
Yeah, which is funny because I was doing some scouting behind enemy lines, looking at what fans in Colorado want. When Rantanen came back and they said he was skating with Nichushkin and Middlestat on that second line, it was like when the Jets put Ehlers, Scheifele, and Velarde together in the mentions of the tweet. Like everyone was like, finally, like you break up the top line. Like now you have two scoring lines. Like it's about time. Drouin and Lehkonen work great with McKinnon. And then in their first game, they get absolutely shelled 7-0. And I didn't see that second line really at all. So Avs fans had been wanting that. Maybe they still will go with that because, like we said, they need some depth. But
sometimes when you lose that badly, the coaching staff won't change anything because it's like, listen, fellas, what was that?
That wasn't my fault. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, or you're Rick Bonus, and then you completely do a line blender and don't even give it another opportunity.
I'm actually shocked that Jared Bednar didn't be like, you know what, we're putting Zach Parise up in the top line. Andrew Cogliano, you are our highest minute player. He just kept rolling the same lineup out just to be, I think honestly, by the end of it, it went from try and get a couple to no, you guys gave up
suck.
this many. You stay
Yeah.
out here. You suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. And Matt brings up a great point here. Remember when the Jets shut out the Stars? I'm old enough to remember that. Let's go back to
Pepperidge Farms
Thursday.
remembers.
Let's go back to Thursday for a bit, because look, going into the Colorado game, mentally, I was like, the best case scenario for the Jets was what happened in Dallas. Like, I didn't think a 7-0 complete blowout was within the realm of possibilities. Obviously, that's what happened. It went about as perfectly as you could have asked on Saturday. Going into that game, I thought, all right, if you just copy the blueprint from the Dallas game, that's going to give the Jets the best chance to win. Obviously, they're tied to their defensive structure. We know things like this. But Thursday, real quick, Laurent Brossoit gets the start, his third shutout of the season. He won't be able to be on the Jennings Trophy if the Jets do win, because he didn't get into the game yesterday, and he needs 3 more appearances, only 2 games left. So if they win the Jennings, it'll just be Connor Hellebuyck's name on the trophy. But he's been absolutely fantastic this year. He's going to move on most likely and get 1A, 1B money and play a lot of games for someone else next year. And honestly, I have not seen more kind comments about a player than I have Laurent Brossoit this season. Like, Jets fans are so excited for him, like in a good way, so excited for him to move on and go and get like a starter role and like kill it somewhere else. Like, everyone's like, yeah, Laurent Brossoit, like we absolutely love this guy. When he moves on, like we're so happy for him. Like, I just see so many nice comments about Brossoit, and like they're warranted. He's been so good for them this season. But going back to Thursday against Dallas, at the time, I thought one of the Jets' best games of the season. Their defensive structure looked like the first half of the year. Yeah, finally beat Dallas. Brian, I'll start with you. What did you see on Thursday, that 3-0 win over the Stars, who at the time were the hottest team in the league, the best team in the league over the last month? Jets shut them out.
I think the best way to explain this one is this is what happens when the Jets get back into that system that won them 9 straight earlier this season, that had them on like a 34 game streak of allowing 3 goals or less. When they play their absolute best at closing the gaps, making sure positionally they're not being stupid with where they're chasing guys around. They know when to activate. I truly think that the last 2 games really is precisely what made the Jets successful early, where they are opportunistic because they're not allowing much, and they can turn things around. Like, that's the thing. Like, even yesterday, turnovers would end up from the Jets would end up turning into odd man rushes for the Jets. I don't know what, like, you're able to recover if you are in the right spots. And they were doing that. And it's like, I know there was a lot of talk about maybe that style of play is just a little too taxing to play for a full season. And that's where they got out of sort of their way of playing. And obviously it remains to be seen how effective it'll be over a 7-game series. But like, you play like that, you're probably going to win 9 times out of 10. Like, you snuff out the chances, you take advantage of the ones that you are given. Obviously some more than others. And that's you suddenly are beating the most, important opponents you could possibly have.
Oh, I 100% agree. Elliot, what did you see on Thursday that led into Saturday and the blowout against the Avalanche?
Yeah, I think it's back to what the Jets have been trying to do all season, is that defensive structure. They had gotten away from it. It was meaning that they're a team that can't play up and down. They're not a fast-paced team. So when they get into a fast-paced race with somebody else, they're not suited for that. So I think that's what Rick Bowness has been trying to hammer out with them the last little while, is stay in your structure, don't waver too much from it, and pick your opportunities. And I think the Jets, like Brian has been saying, is they turn the puck over, then they would recover and make a play, and then they're going back the other way, right? Like, they've been so shut down in the last, like, again, same with the Dallas game. Dallas is, most important players, their stars, not the
Come on now.
not to
Wow.
try to pun.
Wow.
I'm trying not to. That's why I said
Wow.
best players. Weren't really that noticeable, right? Like the Jets did their thing, they shut them down, and that was that. Like they have been so good as of late. Like I'm trying to think back to some of the losses. Like I guess would it be the Vegas game that they lost? Would have been the last one where they really started to turn a corner and they just weren't getting the results.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they lost to Ottawa as well. The process was right in those 2 games, which kind of made it feel weird because the Jets won 3 straight, but the first 2, like, they had lost 6 straight and then won 3 straight. Now obviously they've won 6 straight now, but
Completely
at that time,
counteracted the 6-game losing streak.
yeah, at that time it was like, okay, well, you've won 3 straight, but the process has really been right for like 5 games now. You can see them turning a corner. They go into Nashville and get like shredded, and Connor Hellebuyck stands on his head and they win that game. And then it's like, okay, like maybe the process isn't right. And then every single question mark you could possibly have about this team was really just wiped out in the last 2 games. You
100%.
outscored the Stars and the Avs 10-0 on the road this late in the season.
And it wasn't and realistically, both of your goalies didn't goalie the other team.
No,
like it was a team effort. It wasn't like, oh, you won 10-0, but Connor Hellebuyck and Brossoit had.
I think it was like 25 shots each game for the opponent. So it's like you're holding them to under 30.
The Avs got a bunch late. Like they were just.
Mostly, it was just preserving the shutout.
Yeah.
But no, like what I'm interested in, like I know early, and a lot of what the concerns were was, can the rest of the lineup make up for if there's going to be issues with the top line? And I think the last 2 games have expressed that if they like break even or come close to it, if they don't allow like the really dangerous shots, because I think up until late, I don't think they'd actually allowed many high danger chances on that line. It was just outside shots.
No, so they, like, just to further your point, they lost the Corsi battle like 16-8 or something. So they got shredded in shot attempts. But in terms of like scoring chances, high danger chances, expected goals,
weren't
it was
anywhere
basically
close.
Break even. It was break even. Like it was 50,
which is totally fine because I trust both of our goalies to save the easier shots. But even if they're doing that, but they're generating some chances, perfect. But what we're seeing is having that second line of Ehlers, Monahan, Toffoli absolutely cook anyone they're playing.
Unreal.
Like
that
and
line
then you
has
get
been
depth score. And you got like, the Lowry line they can chip in. And then at some point or another, we're going to get Niederreiter back, maybe Tuesday. Which I will say before we move on, because I will forget. David Gustafsson has looked really good the last couple games. I've been very, very impressed with him just stepping in and being on that line. And I thought that was a really good thing for him, because I know he's been bouncing in and out of the lineup now for the better part of 3 years, whether it's with injury or just lineup. He's come in and he has looked great on that third line. And obviously that won't remain, but I wonder if he's now earned more of a look in the lineup, at least in the last couple games here. But back to my point, if it's not the first line, the second line is going to pick it up, which I said yesterday that the second line is really our first line with how well they've been producing. But the fourth line has scored a lot.
Or generated.
Exactly. But they've also, like, you've seen the offense from that third line as well. So it's a pick your poison type of situation. And that is how they can win, even if their top line isn't outscoring opponents too much. And I'm fine by that.
Yeah. And Elliot, if you have anything to riff off of there.
No, the only thing I wanted to say was when Brian mentioned mentioned Gustafsson coming into the lineup, I think it's a huge luxury for the Jets to consistently have somebody. We're not going to get into the Cole Perfetti discussion today. Because
Perfetti's still a guy that could step into the top 6 if someone were to go down.
Well, yeah.
And clearly he could produce. Like,
he's
not a bottom 6 player though.
Oh,
Perfetti can't step in and do what David Gustafsson did. As weird as that sounds, he can't.
He's not the same type of player.
Can he step in and do what Tyler Toffoli did yesterday against the Avs? Yes, because he's a top 6 player, but he's not a bottom 6 player. There's styles at play there. But yeah, go ahead.
But I just to say that I think this is a mark of a good team, right? If you have
so much depth,
if you have your healthy scratches being able to come in and make a difference on a moment's notice, like I would even say like having Logan Stanley as well too. Like he barely got any run and now he's like a fixture in the lineup because
he's going to start game 1.
Yeah.
In the lineup for sure. Like he's won the job, dare I say it. Like he's been really good. And people were talking about it earlier, so props to the chat because they were ahead of this conversation. But the third pairing of Stanley and Sandberg have been really good. I'm not sure how sheltered they've been in terms of like playing tough minutes, but they were on the road against the Avs and looked the part last night. Stanley's skating a lot better. He's moving the puck well. He had a few big hits, and then Neil Pionk. I mean, McKinnon kind of just ran into him. Like it was I don't know. It was a weird hit, but
only one of them went down.
Only one of them went down, and
it wasn't Neil.
And then I saw people on Twitter love this. The smirk to Ross Colton without doing anything, and then Ross Colton punches him in the face, and
it was the happiest I've ever seen anyone to get punched.
Yeah. And then the Jets go on the power play because of what Neil Pionk did. Like that's the kind of the pesty Neil Pionk that works. And you want to see more of that going forward. I thought he played a great game against the Avalanche. We've talked a lot about his struggles as of late. So I think we need to acknowledge when he has a good game. And I thought he had a great game against the Avalanche. I haven't looked. It has been rare over the past month, but if he ramps it up for the next 3 games and into the playoffs, then it doesn't matter, right? And yeah, there was no bad players against the Avs on Saturday. Like everyone played well, but I think it's worth noting that Neil Pionk, I thought, had a great game alongside Brendan Dillon. I also thought Dylan DeMello had a really good game quietly. The Jets obviously won 7-0. He's not a guy that's going to have 3 goals, but being alongside Josh Morrissey, like that pairing has been absolute money. But
I just wanted to quickly mention something about Adam Lowry. First shift of the game, he gets bumped into the Colorado bench.
Right.
TSN pulled away before they could show the entire thing, but I'm pretty sure, and anybody else, if they actually saw it while it was happening, they panned to the bench. Lowry was just getting down. I'm pretty sure he snapped his stick in half.
He might have broke, and then he just like
I don't know, but either way, he looked pretty frustrated. So I think that
I can't imagine it must have been broken. I can't imagine on the first shift of the game, he was like, "Oh man, like I'm so 0-0."
From what I gather, I saw someone else say this. The stick that he snapped was a Colorado stick that he stole from someone in the scrum.
So then that makes sense.
Stick out of someone's hand, and then he snapped it on the bench.
He did, yes.
Even funnier.
So that's
then that makes more sense. That makes total sense then.
There you go.
But yeah,
there you go.
I think that was kind of the mark of where like Lowry snapped the stick, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is the kind of game we're having today. So someone's gonna get hurt today, but hey,
and no one did. So, well, I guess actually on the Avs side of things, I think I saw that Sam Girard left mid-game with an upper body injury. That'll be something to watch, obviously, because the Jets and Avs are locked into playing in the first round. If you missed it. The Stars won yesterday, clinching the Central Division title. And with the Jets win, they're in the driver's seat now to get home ice advantage, which starts in under a week, next Saturday, the 20th. Not sure if, obviously, the schedule hasn't come out yet. Not sure if the Jets are going to play on that Saturday or the Sunday. But, we'll be here Sunday morning, LFP Live, either a post-game edition breaking down Game 1 or a preview of Game 1, which will happen Sunday. Not sure. My best guess, Jets start on Saturday, maybe even an afternoon game against the Avs. I would bet on an afternoon game, honestly, on the weekend because you've got Toronto and they want those teams in the 6 and 9 o'clock slate. And, you're going to have the street parties here. Why not have it in the middle of the day? So I think Game 1 might be an afternoon game. That's just a pure guess.
Be pretty legit.
we're looking forward to LFP Live, the 10th edition next Sunday. So for all these people in chat, make sure you join us next Sunday as well. But hey, we're not even halfway through this edition of LFP Live. Let's live in the moment. I want to talked about Pionk. I want to talk about Sean Monahan too, because I looked last night and scheduled a tweet for this morning on his 82 game pace stats since being acquired by the Jets. Let me just go find it here. Over an 82 game pace, he's got 33 goals, 29 assists, 62 points. In the 32 games he's played, he's got 13 goals, 11 assists, 24 points. So he has been everything the Jets could have asked and more. Him and Nikolai Ehlers have chemistry. We talked about that second line, Brian, you brought it up. I know people want to see Monahan re-signed, but do you think his dominant stretch here of play has maybe improved or increased the Jets' likelihood of them giving him like a 5-year deal and making him kind of the 2C with this core going forward? Brian?
I definitely think it is. If it didn't already, it's starting to sway the the front office to be like, hey, this guy could be that second line center that they have never really had. Like, I'm not sure if they go 5 because like I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of moving parts where the younger guys are coming in, and I do think that maybe they look at like a Nino deal. Just like going like 3 years, keep the older core in there, and then when they get ready to move on or sign cheaper and move down the lineup, you've got someone else ready to step in, because at that point, who knows, could have like a Brad Lambert ready to roll into that second line center role, right? Because it seems like they're kind of grooming him for that, because he has been the Moose #1 center over this run that has moved which Moose make their way into the playoffs.
Clinched. Wild season.
Yeah. So I think
welcome to the AHL.
Monahan for probably less than 5. I would say 3. And then he's that transitional guy to allow the the younger guys to move into the bigger roles as they sort of actually advance in the organization.
And look, let's say Brad Lambert becomes a second line center in the NHL in the next 3 years, which is a long shot. Like, let's be honest, becoming a top 6 center in the NHL is he's hit his peak as a player. If he becomes a contributor in the top 6, he's hit his ceiling. So if he hits his ceiling in the next 3 years, and I'm not saying he can, I'm saying that would be like gold for the Winnipeg Jets. Especially since he was the second first-round pick that year after Rutger, who might sign. Get into that maybe later on in the episode. But I think then you can slide Monahan down to the third line or the fourth line, and he can play on Adam Lowry's wing, or he can play fourth-line center. And you can have elite center depth with Scheifele, Lambert, Lowry, and Monahan. Like, I don't think it would be blocking him per se. But I do agree with you. I'd prefer like a 3-year over a 5-year from a Jets perspective. Given that I believe Monahan is 29, he's dealt with some injury issues. Not saying that a long-term deal couldn't work for the entirety of it, because again, he could be the same player from 30 till 35. But I think given the fact that he's had the injury history, he's played great in his limited time here. 3-year deal, I think, is the best for me. And a lot of people bring up the Stastny pickup. Elliot, where do you kind of mentally rank the Monahan pickup among trade deadline acquisitions for in years past, like Paul Stastny, or even second line centers? Like I had someone in my mentions compare him to Brian Little, like just as a player. So yeah, where are you at with that? Like how good in the Jets history and Kevin Cheveldayoff's tenure of a trade deadline pickup, or not even midseason pickup, has this been?
This has probably been, it's at least top 2. Like it's
Stastny.
Yeah, I don't really think there's anybody else that Chevy's brought in during the season that has contributed this much, right? Like obviously he's made some good moves outside of the regular season, but I don't think that this has been his best. This might be his best, especially if Monahan goes on to have a good playoff run.
Yeah.
I think there is a good argument to say that this is his best mid-season pickup. Like I mean, Stastny was more of a trade deadline. Like they got him more at the deadline both times, right? So I
both
don't know.
times. We're talking about the first time.
Yeah,
That was
more
the
so
more
the first time.
successful time. Yeah.
I mean, the second time wasn't as bad, but
well, what was the second time? It was because 2017-18 was the first time.
Kevin Hayes.
Yeah.
Kevin Hayes was the next year, but then they did it with Stastny again. Was it the Canadian division year? No, it was. I guess was there a year in there before where it was Kevin Hayes? I don't know.
I can't remember now.
Maybe in the shortened season.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe the shortened season, but I don't remember. If people in chat remember, I do remember them acquiring Paul Stastny twice.
Yes.
I do remember that. So what was the second year? Let us know in the comments because
when did they trade Carl Dahlstrom and a pick?
Yes, Carl Dahlstrom, Jets legend.
Oh God,
Jets legend, absolutely. Yes, I quickly I brought up Rutger. This is a great point here. Frank Nazar, Chicago Blackhawks first round pick, was on Michigan.
Different
turning pro. Mike McIntyre did say that Nazar, he was down there covering the Frozen Four for the Free Press. He said that Nazar and McGrory are like best friends. They played hockey together their whole life. So Nazar signing with the Blackhawks and moving on, I think ups the likelihood that Rutger.
There's also apparently there's a lot of chatter about his other buddy there, Brindley, that he is really considering turning pro. So, there we go. October 9th.
It was. Okay.
But no, like I legitimately think that, especially if Brindley signs, because I think those were his two line mates, or at least they were at some point. I think that it, as you said, ups the likelihood. But yeah, now we just have to sit and wait.
And I know people are excited, and they should be. Rutger McGrory on and off the ice, incredible, like entertainment, personality, everything you could ever want. But I think the most likely thing for him in the short term is he's going to play with the Moose if he were to sign
100%
and experience that playoff run, because as much as people want to see him be a black ace here in the NHL and things of that nature, I think there's no room for him in this lineup. And I know people want him. It would.
And that's the difference between him and Nazar is Nazar's joining the Blackhawks, who I'm sure
awful.
They're bad, right? Like the Jets don't even have space for Cole Perfetti. So do you think they have space for Rutger? Right. I don't know about that, right? So
exactly,
it's different situations. I also think that there was that article that was released not too long ago where McGrory got asked what he was leaning towards, and he said, "Yes, I'm kind of focused on this year's Frozen Four."
Yeah,
but he also did say, "I'm more so leaning to coming back. I'm not really in too much of a rush," which means that he's very well aware of how the roster looks and knows that he may not get a chance right away, and so he wants to wait to come over until he actually gets a good chunk of time.
And I think, if you're Rutger McGrory right now, how like the whole premise of that was, okay, I want to run it back because there's unfinished business and you want to win a title with Michigan. Well, how likely is that now that Frank Nazar is not going to be there, right? Like, and that's your best friend too, or supposedly your best friend on the team, right? So I think the likelihood's definitely higher, not only for the fact that his best friend just went to the NHL, but also for the fact that if you want to run it back, you just lost like your best player or your second best player and your line mate who you like cooked with all season long. So
transfer portal.
Transfer portal. Yeah. No. He loves Michigan. That's one thing Rutger McGrory does.
So do I.
Is Michigan.
Rutger.
Yeah,
we are the same.
Can't say the same.
We're going to take a break. Hear a word from DraftKings. Thank you to everyone who's joining us live today. LFP Live, this is the 9th edition. Nice to see everyone in chat commenting. We really appreciate it. Stick around. After this, we're going to do a light first round preview and then take questions from all of you after this word from DraftKings.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
And welcome back into episode 9 of LFP Live. Thank you to everyone who's joining us once again on this Sunday morning. We really appreciate it. Like I said off the top, it's easy to get up for this one because of what happened over the weekend. And what happened over the weekend was the Jets beating the Avalanche 7-0, and it being confirmed that those two teams will meet in the first round. Brian, I'll start with you. Just a light first reaction to the Jets playing the Avs in the first round. What is your gut sense of how this series will go, where the Jets will have advantages and disadvantages? Obviously, one team has Nathan MacKinnon and one team has Connor Hellebuck. I think that's a storyline right there. But what is your initial reaction to the Jets officially playing the Avs in the first round?
They were the opponent that I was most okay with out of the likely opponents. And I say that like there wasn't just two of them, essentially.
Dallas gets Vegas with a potential Mark Stone return.
That is where
rough.
I bet you they are like, wow, I wish we could choose our opponents like in other leagues.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you they would not choose the reigning Cup champs with their captain
Stone
returning.
Coming back. Which, surprise, surprise, Stone's coming back. Anyways.
Yeah.
But like, oh, you're going to get the chat going on that.
LTIR. Here we go. Yeah.
But Jeff, bring in the laughter.
Yeah.
I can picture, like, I mean, I've seen it already. It's like the video of Taker sitting up in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
It's perfect. But back to the Avs. I like how the Jets match up purely because of two reasons, and we've already mentioned it a lot. Goaltending. Georgiev can't be trusted, and then you've got a couple of young guys in the net who have not played enough. Versus the two best goalies in terms of tandem in the entire league. Like, you have the best tandem. And then you also have, where is it here? There we go. 13 forwards who have double-digit goals. I don't see how you can possibly line match that, even when you're on the road. Like, yeah, like it,
and one
like
of those
truly,
is
like,
not even in the lineup. Like,
yeah, like it's insane. Like, I truly don't have any sort of feeling that the Avs can keep up with depth. And the only sort of like advantage they have, I would say, is the star power. But even then, like, they're countered with different stars, where you've got Nate MacKinnon, who, as we know, can take control of an entire game, but so can Connor Hellebuck. Obviously, Cale Makar can do what Cale Makar does best, and that's sort of put that defensive group on his back. Yeah. Josh Morrissey has done similar things this year. We have seen it. We've seen it now for the last 2 years, where he can just say, you know what? I'm going to be the Jets' best player today, and I'm going to carry, especially the back end, on his back, and then just carry them to victory.
So good in the Colorado game.
100%.
So, like, truly, like, there's a lot of conversation though going around where it's like the reason that Colorado could, become an issue is experience. But I'm like, experience is great and all, but if your like bottom 9 forwards are not able to score like effectively, experience doesn't really matter all that much, because let's be real, like, you're not going to get massive goals out of Zach Parise in his age like 38 season. Like,
now
It's
that
not
you said
2013
that
anymore.
Now that you said that, he's scoring an OT winner.
hey,
Come
listen.
on.
Yeah, they'll score the OT winner in like game 4 when they're already down 3-0 to keep themselves alive.
Wow.
But
Elliot,
no,
or
it's
yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elliot, what's your initial reaction to the Jets officially playing the Avs in round 1?
Best matchup they could get. I think that's with how good the West is. I mean, I guess the Preds, but like I don't like that. Like if they had been in first place and potentially had to play the Preds, not really a fan of.
Well,
like I know they could beat
Preds,
them,
like
but
the Preds have been hot, but not really. Like ever
they've also
since
had-
they
Stylistically, they've given the Jets issues though.
yes,
but
for
and they
sure.
also have UC Saros, who I don't like. I know the Jets will eventually have to play a good goaltender in a playoff series. I can grasp that. I just don't want that to happen in the first round, because
Fair.
all it takes is Saros to have one good game and then he's hot, and then it's like, okay, well now the Jets can't score, and like Brian said, stylistically they don't fit. I think
Yeah.
Colorado is the best matchup for the Jets because the Jets have depth, 2 different styles that really clash with one another, and for the most part, like realistically, yes, Colorado is all offense and the Jets are mostly defense. Most of the time the defensive team is going to win. Like, yeah, Colorado might
Defense
win
wins championships.
Colorado might win game
That's what
3
they say.
7-6 or 7-5, but then right, like
Yeah.
it's if the Jets stick to their structure and play that way, I think this is the best matchup they could get in the first round. Now, I don't really want to talk about the second round yet because I really don't like where that's going either.
Well, yeah,
but
we'll relax on that. Whoa. I am gonna I'll be the I don't even know, the pessimist in this situation, because let's be honest, the Avs are a lot better than, I know the Jets just killed them 7-0, but that's not
sure.
the Colorado Avalanche that they're going to see. Like, these are going to be close games. This is going to be a close series. If you look at the Vegas odds that the NHL posted about yesterday, the Avs are still favorites even after yesterday. And there's a reason for that. And it's because of Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Mikko Rantanen. Like, they can win you a series, and their power play can score 3 goals in a game. And I have a buddy who's an Avalanche fan, and he was telling me that they've been really streaky this year. But if they can catch one of their hot streaks and Hellebuck is anything less than like superhuman, he likes the Avs chances. So again, they're a really streaky team. Maybe they're in a downward swing right now, and maybe they come back up for the playoffs. But I was saying to him basically that this series is going to solve the argument of like goaltending in depth or high end offensive talent, scoring, things of that nature. I think the Nathan McKinnon thing, yes, he had a bad game yesterday. He had no points. He was a -2. And he wasn't really, like, he generated some chances, but wasn't really noticeable in the way that we've come accustomed to seeing Nathan McKinnon. He's going to be much better in the playoffs. This is going to be a really close series. Hellebuck's going to have to steal a game or 2, which he can totally do. Like, I don't think I'm not saying the Jets are going to lose. If you ask me right now, I think the Jets win the series, but I think this 7-0 win has given Jets fans a bit of a skewed perception on what this series is going to look like.
100%.
It's not going to look like that. I can assure you that. It's going
And
to
if
be
it does,
much
I'd be
closer.
the happiest man alive.
The whiteout street parties would be nuts if that's how it looked. But I think these are going to be really close games. I think the Jets but they haven't got it yet. They need to win, or Colorado needs to lose a game for the Jets to officially get home ice. But that game yesterday basically tied that up. I think them getting home ice is massive. Having Adam Lowry be out there when Nathan McKinnon's on the ice and just basically shadow him. Like, in the playoffs, it really doesn't like matter in a sense of like, Adam Lowry is going to be looking at Nathan McKinnon the entire time. Like you see shadow defense in every other sport. It's going to be, that's what you saw shadow defense when the Jets played Connor McDavid and they swept him. They just had someone like staring at him the whole time and just checking him. That is what they're going to do to Nathan McKinnon. And he can overcome that. He's that special of a player. He's going to win the MVP most likely. So I think, again, they're not going to win every game 7-0. This isn't going to be a sweep by any means. But if I'm a Jets fan, I'd still say Jets in 6, Jets in 7. I still feel more confident, especially Jets are 3-0 against the Avs this year. And 2 of those games, I think they won 6-2 in December when they were hot. And then they just obviously went 7-0 yesterday. So I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. But I still think the Avs being favored is weird, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. When you mentioned your Avs friend, but the outside perception of the Jets is something that's very interesting to me, because at least to the fan bases, apparently not to former NHL goalies, but the fan bases know that Connor Hellebuyck has the ability to be unlike any goalie you've seen in the last decade. Like he has like that Carey Price 2014-15, I'm going to stop anything you put at me sort of thing. I know I went on the Catfish on Ice podcast, which is another member of the Hockey Podcast Network covering the Preds after the Preds and Jets met. And obviously that game was something else in terms of what Connor Hellebuyck was. But the way that Chad, if you're interested on hearing sort of what's going on that side of things with the Preds and where they're at, check out them. But Chad and I chatted about this where apparently from what I can gather, as long as Hellebuck's in net, every single team that we can face is concerned about that. And like the Preds were like, listen, I don't know if we'll play in the playoffs, but if I do, Connor Hellebuyck, I'm scared of. Like it's a matter
the ultimate
of like
equalizer. It is.
It really is.
You can dominate a game. You talked about the Preds. The Predators dominated that game. It was not close. The Jets should not have won, but they won because one player that plays 60 minutes in a game is a goalie, and no one else can play 60 minutes, right? Like it's just, I don't know. He's the best goalie in the world, and that's the advantage that the Jets have going into the playoffs over anyone in the West. If they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, anyone in the East, they have the best goalie. They have the goaltending advantage. And it just so happens that their first round opponent does not had below average goaltending this year. So the goaltending, the depth, massive advantages for the Jets, high-end scoring talent. It's not that the Jets don't have that. It's that the Avalanche have the pinnacle of that. They have a guy who's in the Art Ross race and the Hart Trophy race. And Mikko Rantanen is a 50-goal scorer. Like these are legitimate players. Like I know they were invisible yesterday, and they maybe were they gave up after the game was 4-0. Can't really blame them. They've sewn up a playoff spot. They're gonna play the Jets. You lost home ice, darn. But honestly,
language.
Darn, yeah. Well, yeah, we've got language watch in the chat.
Yeah, geez.
Sucks.
Yeah. Is anything else quickly on this series that you guys want to touch on? We've touched on the goaltending advantage for the Jets. Georgiev, as everyone saw it yesterday, he hasn't been good. They have the high end talent: Nate McKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen. These players are going to play 25 minutes a night. Like they're going to roll them in the playoffs. Like out there every single chance they can. And the Jets are going to counter with Adam Lowry if they have home ice. Is there anything else? Elliot, do you have anything lasting to say on your initial impressions of this series?
Not really. I mean, like goaltending is going to be a factor, right? And then after that, it's can the Jets show up with their depth, right? So realistically, that's where it's got to be. So I mean, it's not really much else. That's basically all the series is about. It's depth versus high-end talent.
Yep. Yeah. And Adam S. Helly and Morrissey will win us games. I didn't even bring up Josh Morrissey. That's a great point. Like, we talked about high-end talent. Josh Morrissey is a top 10 defenseman in the league, and he was much more noticeable than Cale Makar was on Saturday. Will that sustain over a 7-game series? I would take Cale Makar. But Josh Morrissey is right up there in terms of how good he's been this season. He's been, in my opinion, a top 5 defenseman all around. His defensive metrics have really stepped up from last year. And then the offensive metrics have stayed the same. The Jets power play being like 6 feet under for the majority of the season has really dampened his point totals. So he's not getting the same Norris hype as he did last year. But I think he's been better all around. And that game on Saturday, one of his best of the season, and against Dallas as well. Just fantastic hockey player who has an incredible sense of when to jump into the play and make a play. Like, he jumped and beat Nathan MacKinnon to the net, and MacKinnon slashed him. And then the Jets went on the power play and Velarde scored that goal. All because Morrissey knew that if he jumped past the Hart Trophy candidate at this exact moment, he could get a breakaway. Like, he is legit. He can stack up that high end talent. You put Lowry out there, you put Morrissey out there against MacKinnon, you have a pretty good chance. And as good of a chance as you can have. That's a better way to put it, because again, Nathan MacKinnon, unbelievable talent. Yeah, the bubble Oilers series is a good, like, I don't know. Did you guys use that as maybe a bit of a comparison? The Jets did get shelled in that series, and Connor Hellebuyck goaltending won them a handful of games. Brian, do you kind of draw any parallels between that series and the series we might see here? Obviously, it won't be a sweep, or maybe it will.
I mean, kind of, but the thing is, though, with that series, it just didn't feel like there was as much of like there's a difference maker on every single line. And so, like, you had guys, like the same guys scoring, it felt like. It feels like this, makeup of the team has way more going for it already. And it feels like, even though if they somehow get shelled on, they have more of that ability to be like, hey, yeah, sure, we're getting outshot, we're getting outchanced, but we've got more, shooting talent up and down the lineup. Like that's how I kind of feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, that shadow coverage that the Jets played on Connor McDavid in that series, like, never seen anything like it. And you're going to see it again this in a week's time, because for game 1, when Adam Lowry hops over the boards to follow Nathan MacKinnon, that's
it's
his
game
one job.
on.
It's shut down 29. So yeah, it's game on. All of this analyzing aside, this is going to be a super fun series. Like, this is going to be awesome. You've got Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar trying to carry their team against the Vezina Trophy winning goaltender, and a team that is really deep up front and has some high-end talent as well. And Josh Morrissey and Mark Scheifele and Monahan and Toffoli have been really good. Like, this series is just going to be so much fun, and I can't wait. In about a week time, they will drop the puck on game 1. We will have all the coverage here. As for this episode, as we end every episode, I can already see the chat absolutely filling up with tons of questions, but we usually answer questions from all of you. Drop a question below. We will get to as many as we can. Rapid fire edition, because like I said, a lot of people in chat today, a lot of reason to get up for this one. Big win yesterday for the Winnipeg Jets, 7-0 over the Avs. If you missed it, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Go back and watch it. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
If you missed it, you're not watching the playoffs, because maybe you're bad luck. Hey, maybe.
Yeesh.
Maybe another thing. This might be a separate episode, like sports superstitions. Are you guys superstitious? Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, working in baseball for the last several years,
yeah.
I am way more superstitious now than I was before.
Fair enough.
It really doesn't matter, to be quite honest.
It doesn't
really
matter.
No. I mean, like, you can ask anybody that I've ever played with. I don't really have a specific, like, warm up. Like, I played with so many guys that I have to do this and that before games, and I need to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been like that for like anything. I'm not superstitious.
Okay. Fair enough.
It is what it is. Like,
fair enough.
The outcome's going to be the outcome.
But you can have an effect on it, Elliot. You can change the outcome.
I always did. What are you talking about? It was always positive.
Well, if you wear like one pair of shoes versus another, that will ultimately decide how well you play in the end, right? Like, or how your day goes. That's how like wild superstitions are.
Yeah, some people are that wild. I don't
I'm
know.
like
I'm
that too.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's like I'm wearing these shoes to this game. Like, do I want to wear?
Fair enough. Like,
do I want to wear the armband today? No, not really. I did have like 15 last game when I wore it. Whatever. I'm not gonna.
What
wear
about a
it.
red shirt on Sunday?
yeah,
It's definitely not working today for Tiger. He had a 7 on a par 4, so I don't know.
ooh,
He did drop back on the tee because he shot it into the woods. It was too far gone.
Masters coverage here on LFP Live.
Yep.
You love to see it. Okay, let's get to some of these questions.
Say we've got so off track here.
The chat is filling up. Yeah, we're way behind. So let's kind of rapid fire.
Yeah.
Do you think Monahan will draw a bidding war? He is a UFA, so it could be the case. And can the Jets win it and re-sign Ehlers and Connor? I think so. Like, I think Ehlers is an interesting one because he, as we've talked about many times, has been the example of demotions many times. He might want out this offseason. Who knows? That's a long ways away. Kyle Connor's 2 years from now. So I think they could do some cap gymnastics in that sense for Kyle Connor's sake. But for Ehlers, I don't know what a contract. He's extension eligible this offseason, so I don't know what that contract might look like. Rapid fire off the top of your guys' head, what do you think? Can the Jets win a bidding war with Monahan and still re-sign both of those guys?
Maybe.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I think it's also you have to remember that coming in at some point, you're getting guys on other cheaper deals that have been, waiting in the wings, or they're on ELCs possibly coming up.
Yeah.
So you're saving some money there. So I think it's possible. I just don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. All right. Matt, if Kucherov gets 100 assists, who gets the heart? My opinion, still Nathan McKinnon. What he's done with that Avalanche team, carrying them to a 100+ point team, has been nothing short of incredible. You guys, any
I'm
thought
Team
of
McKinnon.
Kucherov? Team McKinnon? Elliot?
Yep.
I'm Team McKinnon.
Team McKinnon. All right. The Jets are playing the LFP Hart Trophy winner in the first round. Does the rest for Nino with this injury get him back to early season Nino, who is a big time threat on that third line? It
Hopefully.
does sound that this injury wasn't anything like structural. They're just like taking their time, letting him get back up to speed, and giving Nino Niederreiter like a 2-week rest right before the playoffs is pretty sweet. So I think that could be big for the Jets, especially since that third line is going to be playing such tough minutes. I think Niederreiter could have a huge impact. Off the top of your guys' head, what do you think?
I definitely think that just the way he plays, kind of, hard-nosed and putting himself into the difficult areas, I think having some time off is not going to hurt him.
No, for sure. I mean, like, realistically, if he comes back and he's healthy, then I think that third line just gets better. Like, it just adds to the Jets' depth. I mean, thank goodness for Kevlar. That's what I have to say about that. But
exactly, yeah, he did use the cut protection. Apparently, that saved him big time. Which, yeah, thankfully, because apparently it's a pretty nasty cut.
would have been bad.
If Scheifele goes down in the first round, who fills his spot? Mark Scheifele has had some pretty unlucky injuries over the past couple playoff runs, or a suspension. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, Monahan moves up. I think Nemesnikov would move up to the second line.
I would think.
And and then the Lowry line stays the same because it's Adam Lowry. Elliot, do you have to bolt? I know it's 10, and you said you had to go.
Probably got to head out just because.
Okay.
A little bit of
everyone in chat, say bye to Elliot. We're gonna keep answering a bit of your questions.
Wave goodbye, everyone.
Wave goodbye. Yeah.
Let's get wave emoji in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. Get the wave going. Get the wave going. Don't tell Huss.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm also anti-wave, so
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, I will see everybody on Tuesday for what is that, episode 84?
84. Yeah.
All right. Well,
okay.
You guys enjoy the rest of the show and have fun.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right. See ya, Elliot. Let's get into these questions, Brian. We roll on. We do. How do the prospects fit with the win now structure of the Jets roster? Do you deal, say, a Barlow or another player to get a key addition on defense next year? It's a really good question because the Jets are,
It is.
their core is where their core is at. They're in kind of win now mode. Where are you at with, moving a high end prospect, maybe not a Rutger, but a Barlow, to win now?
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I would definitely consider it. I feel like there are still some question marks with Barlow, just because. I mean, personally, watching some of his tape this year, there was a few things that I wanted to see him improve on in terms of how he plays, completely. Obviously, the scoring's there. We know that. We're going to be maybe at some point we see at least some play time from him at the end of the year here with the Moose, but I do think that there are some things of his that need to be worked on, and I think that does, maybe based on timelines. I think it makes it easier to maybe stomach a move with Barlow included for a impact guy. I just don't know, because I mean, Cheveldayoff has made it clear that he prefers to hold on to his top prospect guys. So
Which
I think
is why I think it has to be someone with term. It can't
exactly
be like, it wouldn't be for like a Monahan,
like
or
a
it would be
rental.
an extension would be in place. I
Exactly.
think it would have to be someone with term for them to move a prospect, because like you said, Kevin Cheveldayoff in the past hasn't liked moving prospect. He likes moving picks, like he did with the Monahan deal and the Toffoli deal, but prospects are a different ball game. With Stone miraculously recovering, coming back for Vegas, does the league address LTIR next year? I think the league does address LTIR. It came up at like the Board of Governors meeting in Florida like a few months ago. Vegas did it again. They acquired Hurdle. They acquired Hannafin, signed him long term. Stone's going to come back. Just on the surface, I think so many NHL fans have so many questions about LTIR that it's going to get tweaked somehow. Do you think the NHL does anything about the way the LTIR system works heading into the playoffs?
I mean, I think they might like tweak something, but I think that's only because of the outcry against it. It just, the thing for me though, and like I'm not pulling for any sort of like, yeah, use the system, but I'm like, a lot of people are just angry that Vegas is using the CBA to its entirety and their teams aren't. Right? Like, I'm also,
Vegas
I
is,
looked, I was doing some research on it. Mark Stone came back within the allotted time of a lacerated spleen, and you're not faking a lacerated spleen.
well,
So,
no, yeah, the it's not, I don't think the outrage comes from the like cheating aspect of it. Well, I think some of it does, but
well, a
it
lot of it's like,
shouldn't.
oh wow, they came back early. I'm like, no, they came back in the allotted time, but it's just how they're using it to it the timing is very, convenient, but
Yeah,
they're using the CBA. It is written in the CBA that you can do this. Tampa has used it to their advantage. Vegas has used it
yeah,
to their advantage. Toronto has used it to their advantage.
yep,
I think the only reason it gets changed is if more teams keep doing it. Like if like that's the thing. Everyone should be doing it because it works. People have
although
used it.
not everyone can do it. That's the thing, because who would the Jets have put on LTIR? Like, they didn't have any. I don't know. Like
Well,
Jay
like
Fresh,
obviously, but like if they can, they should. That's what I'm saying. Like
right?
if
But
it's a possibility.
you don't get that luxury where a top line player could go out for exactly the amount of time you need. Like I retweeted this from Jay Fresh, and I think that this is like valuable to the discussion. He said the reason Mark Stone always comes back from LTIR right before the playoffs is because his life is constant injured agony, and he's only willing to tolerate it for the playoffs. Pretty straightforward. Which,
Yeah.
Mark Stone's had a long list of injury history. Lacerated spleen is the latest of
Back
a long
surgeries,
list.
hip issues,
Yeah,
shoulder issues.
that is it. Like, every year he gets some new injury, and he's only willing to put up for it and go through the pain for playoff hockey. Like, that's just what it is. And again, all you need to be Vegas is to have a superstar that constantly gets hurt right around the perfect time and comes back right at that. Like, they've gotten pretty lucky with what they've done the last couple of years in that regard. Let's move on. Talk about LTIR for years. Prediction for Rucker, I think he signs and
I think
plays
he
with the
signs
Moose.
and plays with the Moose.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, 14 goals scored by the Jets Moose organization yesterday. I told the guys before hopping on, it was
Touchdown and the extra point.
Yes, it's a pet peeve of mine because everyone's, they both scored touchdowns. Touchdowns are 6 points and the extra point. So they got both But yes, touchdowns usually end up being 7 points, so it's not.
Yep.
That's not a hill I'm gonna die on. Jeff saying he has a McCarr jersey. It's getting out to back of the closet. # superstition. Yeah, I have a McCarr jersey as well. I hate to admit that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like right there. But anyways, let's get Brian. I know you've got something for this. It's springtime. What is
I
the
do.
best ice cream place to visit now that the weather is warm?
Folks, it's Sergeant Sunday.
Sergeant
As
Sunday.
a hill
Wow.
I'm willing to die on. And I now I've been very lucky to live within walking distance of it my whole life, and even with moving into our own place, it's still very close. So that is the best sort of late spring, early summer activity. It's nice out, nice in the evenings. Even you go wander on down to Sergeant Sunday and grab yourself a whatchamacallit, maybe. Which, even though they're almost the same, I personally think that the whatchamacallit is better than the dilly bar at Dairy Queen. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Hot take.
Well, hopefully not too hot. It is ice cream, Connor. Come on.
Good point. Fantastic question here from CMAC. I'll go Sergeant Sunday as well. Are you a big BDI
No
guy? No, not a fan.
No, I'm not a fan.
Okay. Well,
people hate me for it. Among other reasons, but they hate me for it.
Well, I bring that up because it's a hot topic. I'm not presenting BDI as the best ice cream place.
I know,
but
it's like a cult thing though, like where it's like
people.
Everyone has their ice cream place in the city, and it's like
I also think it's nice to get an ice cream and go for a walk on the bridge there. Beautiful day. Like I think that's the best. Obviously, it's bridge drive-in. That's the best part of it. But yeah, I know it's a hot topic. It's one way or the other. People love it or people hate it. I know that. It is. Are the Utah tickets next year at Canada Life Center the hottest ticket in town?
We didn't talk about it at all today.
I know. Sorry, someone else asked about it here, I think, in chat. But anyways, go ahead on the Utah, the Salt Lake City relocation, because there's a lot to get to there.
Yeah. Essentially, if somehow you are unaware, it has all but been confirmed that the Coyotes are moving to Salt Lake City for next year. There's talk that it could be, by the 17th, that it's made official. There's a lot of issues where apparently the players don't want to go. But I mean, the whole thing for me is like I don't want to indict the the whole of Arizona hockey and the whole of their fan base, because I know there are dedicated fans on there, and what we have to remember is that there's a lot of there's a hockey hotbed now that's just not being used properly by that ownership group. Like, I'm just obviously off the top of my head, you've got a near 70 goal scorer in the NHL who is from the Arizona area. Like, Austin Matthews grew up in.
I saw an article that like youth hockey in Arizona is booming, and it's like growing at a rate higher than like any other state, obviously because it was at a lower point and it's growing now. There's like rates to do with that, but all that saying, like, hockey's growing in Arizona and there's an appetite there. And I still think that there's a pretty good chance that they win this auction coming up here. The Coyotes leave, and then the Coyotes come back as an expansion team, brand new franchise
at some point.
Yeah. So I think in my
opinion, it can't be with that ownership group. Like, Alex Marullo has absolutely no pulse on what's happening. And it was so fitting that they put out a very strange press release yesterday that was clearly just a screenshot of a Word document, because you could still see the text cursor on the screen, and there was multiple different fonts. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's the ownership group there has so little idea as to how to properly take advantage of a hockey market that can be taken, they can't be taken for granted. Like, it's a situation where if you actually harness it, you would legitimately grow the game, but that ownership group can't be at the helm of that.
# grow the game. what it's all about, man. No, but I agree with everything you're saying. Like the ownership group there just really fumbled the bag here, to put it in like a lack of better terms. But yeah, you're playing at a mullet arena. It's not sustainable. You don't win. You don't get the lease of any arena in the area. No one wants like your team basically to play out of their arena except for Arizona State. I don't know. It's something that I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on, because I do think they come back. And I think much like Winnipeg, there's a lot of parallels of Arizona and Winnipeg, obviously, because, much like Winnipeg, this is like a hockey market that does care, and there are fans, and things out of their control, ownership group are forcing them to leave. But I do think that they come back, and that there is a fan base there for hockey, and there's an appetite there. And I think they come back. I really do. I do want to get to that. A lot of people asked about that, and a lot of people asked this question as well from Adam. Who are your top two needs to re-sign for next year? Minor, Monahan, and DeMello. We'll get into that in a second. This one first. Who gets rested, do you think, over the last two games here? If the as Doug says, if Vegas beats the Avs today, or if the Jets win on Tuesday, who gets rested for the final game? Who you looking at?
I mean, easiest answers are the two who didn't finish the game yesterday. So Monahan and Nemestikov both sat out for the last like 10 or so minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I think that if they are banged up to the extent of we're not going to bring them back in, they might get one of the games off here. Bring in. I mean, obviously, like Kupari is waiting in the wings. You've got
Yep.
Perfetti that can move in, and then you could move like a Gustafson into the center.
Yep.
They've got options there, so I think that you're going to see all three of like Gustafson, Perfetti, Kupari in the lineup at one time,
Mhm.
just because they are the ones that are here. And then defensively, I think you're going to see a bigger rotation of Schmidt and Miller. And then at some point or another here, we're going to get some of the black aces. That it's going to be weird though, because the Moose are about to go into a playoff run, so you have to wonder which of those names, like like a Dom Toninato, maybe an Axel Janssen Fjallby, are the ones that are probably
Maybe.
get the pull there. But yeah, how about what do you think?
I think Monahan is a really good bet to sit, because his whole career, and people in Montreal and Calgary were saying this, he doesn't do like morning skates and stuff like that, just for maintenance reasons. And like you said, he was banged up, didn't play the final 10 minutes. They said it was precautionary, but I could definitely see him, easing into it. I think any player that has missed time this year and doesn't have the possibility to play 82 games, if that makes sense. So Gabe Vilardi, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, I think that whole top line sits a game if there's no meaning. Simply because I think playing 82 games is a accomplishment for players. Like that's something that they hang their hat on, being an Iron Man, playing all 82 games. Like that's a sign of durability, and players like take that as a sense of pride comes with playing 82 games. I think any player that's missed time, whether it be one game, two games, or 30 games in Vilardi's case, I think you see them sit. I think Vilardi 100%, Monahan. I think Kyle Connor, Scheifele. I don't know. Outside of that main group, really anyone. I wouldn't be shocked to see anyone be sat. But players who have a chance to play 82 games, I think
I could see Ehlers, because that's the thing. Like every once in a while, you'll hear like the whole thing from Bones where it's like, yeah, he's banged up a little. I could see Lowry having a day here where the man plays so hard that he's got to be in a great deal of pain at this point in the year. So I think that there's a good bet that a lot of the guys that you either know are banged up or play a style where you can assume they're banged up might get a game here, just to like that last game of the season against the Canucks, especially if we get to a point where I don't know when they play today, but if Vegas handles Colorado today, that last game against Vancouver means nothing. And probably at that point too, it probably means nothing for Vancouver either, because I think that whole situation can be figured out in the next day or so.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. And again, another part of this conversation is you can't sit everyone because there's only a certain amount of people that can come in, right? So they're gonna have to pick their spots, the guys that are banged up, the guys that are most valuable to the team. You don't want them getting hurt in the last game. That'll be a conversation, and Rick Bonus will definitely be asked about it coming up here if Vegas does beat Colorado today. Adam S., who are your top 2 needs to re-sign for next year? Mine are Monahan and DeMello. I tend to agree here. I think another popular one would be Brendan Dillon, who's been fantastic. I think the Jets have been molding Dylan Sandberg to step into that role as early as next season. So he, at 33 years old, pending UFA, probably going to have a lot of interest on the open market. That might be a bidding war that the Jets don't want to get into because Brendan Dillon has been so good this year. But as for priorities, Monahan, DeMello, I'd also say Laurent Brossoit, if he's not like in an ideal
convinced
world,
he gets signed somewhere else.
Yes, in an ideal world, Laurent Brossoit, but he's gonna want to go be a starter somewhere and get starter money, or 1A, 1B money, as I keep putting it. But yeah, who are the top priorities for you? And obviously, like Perfetti's and RFA, that's the obvious ones. But of the UFAs, who are your top priorities?
I mean, Dylan DeMello is up there for me because I feel like, as important as he is defensively, what he does in terms of making Morrissey comfortable and doing his impact player stuff that he does. Like, that's the thing. Like, Morrissey feels so comfortable to be like, I'm going to go jump in. I'm going to go do what I do best. He's not worried about what's coming, behind him or anything, because DeMello's going to,
And I thought, to your point, he looked more passive when Pionk was up there with him. Like,
I think it's because he's concerned.
Well, he's just more hesitant because he hadn't played. Like, he's played with Dylan DeMello more than any defenseman in his entire career. He's played like the last 3 seasons with Dylan DeMello. And there's just a trust there that when Pionk was there, he wasn't jumping up as much because like there's not the connectivity between the two. But yes, 100% agree.
And then I would put Monahan up there just because I mentioned it earlier. The Jets have not had a consistent second line center like ever. Like, it's usually at most it's for a season or 2 and then they move on, or they're just not what we need them to be, or it is a strange legacy that second line center role has left behind in the city. That if you can get someone who plays at a decent enough level to actually occupy that role for more than a couple of years, I think that's big. I think that's huge. So I think that's something that the Jets are looking at too, and I think that I would be totally fine with that.
Yep, I 100% agree. Do we get our Jets 1.0 records when the Yotes move to Utah? I think
not.
I'd hope so. And for Michael Remus's sake, I really hope so. He's gonna have the best sleep of his life the night that the records come back.
Well, I think it matters.
Rest.
We might have to wait, but the reason I think we might have to wait is because there's a lot of talk about Atlanta rejoining the NHL at some point.
Yes.
So I feel like the time works out nicely that if Atlanta does join the NHL again, there can be a swapping of records there where, Atlanta hockey can have theirs. The Jets can regain theirs from Utah or wherever the Coyotes are at that point with their histories. And everyone will be happy. I hope, probably not, but we will be able to actually stop. This conversation's been happening for so long.
And it's such like a, not an obvious thing, but yeah, I think when Arizona gets a team back, like I said, when Atlanta gets a team that has been rumored, I think you could see a massive swapping of records and just be like, all right, Winnipeg, you got yours. Atlanta, you got yours back, and Arizona, you got yours back. And that's that. That's how it should be. I think hearing about how someone became the franchise leader in this stat, but really if the Jets records were here, they'd be like 3rd on the list. It's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. This is a good one from Adam. For fun, your best name picks for the new Salt Lake team. Do you have any of the off the
I
top of your
do.
head? You do? Okay.
Just because I have always loved. So they have an ECHL team called the Utah Grizzlies, and their logo is similar to the Vancouver Grizzlies and
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
throwback. I love it. I don't even know if there are Grizzlies in Utah anymore. They may have moved out. But
Got flushed out.
like there's that. I know CMAC there, Golden Eagles, I like.
That's
There's been
mine.
talk that
Yeah.
like I am not a huge fan of the singular team name, like Wild, Lightning, Heat,
Yeah.
um,
Avalanche.
Avalanche. Um, where yeah, Matt brings up the Utah Yetis, but I've heard that they were considering Yeti because I apparently that is both singular and plural. I don't know, maybe like moose.
Get
Um,
the plural. Yeah, get the Yetis in there. Get that S in there. I
yeah,
agree. I don't like the
but
singular names either.
no,
Yeah.
I think I'm on team Grizzlies, and I will say I don't know if they go Golden Eagles because it's their proximity to the Golden Knights. Like it's
Yeah, true.
obviously they're not in the same division, but
That's a
they'd be
good
playing
point.
each other, 3 times a year.
The Battle of the
And
Goldens. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that would be kind of cool. But okay, Golden Eagles and Yetis, I think is good shouts there from CMAC and Matt in the chat. I think those are probably my two favorite. Is there anything else, Brian, that you want to talk about? We're sorry if you missed if I missed your question. I do apologize. There was a lot. We really appreciate everyone here with us live on this Sunday morning. Brian, anything else league wide that you want to talk about real quick?
yeah, not in the chat, but question from my mom.
Oh,
Asking if we can do a
outside of
quick
chat, there you
little
go.
a quick little mention of the stupidity that's happening in the Eastern Conference playoff race,
Oh man,
where no one seems to want the final spot.
no,
So yeah, right now, as it stands, within 3 points of each other, essentially, because at this point it seems like the Islanders have essentially locked themselves into that third
yeah,
Metropolitan spot.
mhm.
And now you've got the Capitals, you've got uh, um, the Flyers, who have absolutely killed themselves down the
They
stretch.
lost 9 straight and then beat the Rangers on the road to snap the streak. It was weird,
Yep.
but yeah,
And then you've got the Red Wings, who managed to stay alive last night by beating the Leafs in overtime.
big win over the Leafs. Yeah,
And no one seems to want the spot.
no one.
Because whenever someone seems to win, the other teams win. Whenever someone loses, they all lose. Or someone gets like 1 point to jump ahead, but they're all within it's like 89, 88, 87 points. And I mean, personally, I'm pulling for the Penguins to make it in because
Me too.
I truly I love Crosby. But
Yeah.
and I know if he's still watching, I know Rebel will hate that because he's been going through agony over the last while because yeah, he's a Wings fan, and it's just like whenever they
Mm,
have a chance to actually make something happen, they just suck. And then
yep.
they're giving themselves hope by actually winning games, and now they have to finish out strong and hope the other teams trip over themselves, which who knows.
Yeah, I tuned in for a bit of that Wings Penguins game the other night that was like 5-5 in overtime or I think it was 5-5 in overtime and then the Penguins won 6-5. Unbelievable game. And I tuned in for overtime and they actually played Sidney Crosby in overtime and won. Would you look at that? I was like hitting myself in
Eric
the head
Carlson
when
masterclass.
yeah, I was like just befuddled at the fact that when they played the Leafs and went into overtime, they started with Eller and Drew O'Connor, but it came out that Crosby had a skate issue. But then Penguins fans were like, well, no, he does this anyways. Like skate issue aside, this has been their plan in overtime all year long. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But they got Crosby on the ice, got a few shifts in. Eric Carlson, who just played his 1000th game. Congrats to Eric Carlson.
Yeah.
Yeah. When can I expect my Level Flight podcast?
When I get
in the
mine,
mail?
listen.
Yeah.
At some point in the next year here, we're a bit preoccupied right now with work and school. We are gonna try and put some effort into finding, the right merch for us.
Yeah.
And at that point we'll put it out there. But believe me, Matt, I want an LFP hoodie. I want an
Yeah.
LFP shirt, or in my case, as I own a lot of them, a hat. A hat would be good. An embroidered hat.
A hat would be good. A hat would be nice for sure. Sammy Smokes, Utah Stingers. The arena will be the Beehive. That's
I don't mind that.
solid. And C-Mac saying Utah is top producer of honey and bees. Stingers would work. I'm on board with the Stingers idea then. I'm down to Yetis and Stingers. Those are my Salt Lake City salt. Yeah.
The sodium.
That would just be like a meme, just like waiting to happen. Every time they lose and like fans are mad, it's like, oh, they're salty. Haha. Yeah. Utah brisket, the arena, the smoker. That's the one. We've workshopped a ton of ideas here. That's the one. There it is.
Before we get out of here today, I realized we haven't mentioned it yet because we didn't do a Monday episode or a Tuesday episode last week,
Right.
and there was a lot going on. Shout out to Poltergeist on Twitter and in our March Madness bracket group for winning the second annual LFP bracket.
Yes, there you go.
Second. The upsets killed me early, and then everyone that I had didn't matter.
Yeah.
But no, shout out to you for getting that. It was kind of a weird one. Everyone had a terrible bracket. Connor, you were leading for a bit, and then Kentucky went out, and then
my national champion Kentucky lost in the first round. Of course, I had a tweet before March Madness basically saying like, time for me to like fully emotionally invest into something that I spent 10 minutes doing, and that's my bracket. And when Kentucky lost, I was devastated because they, of course, they were the one team, and it was the first big upset. And I was like, of course, like, okay, 10 seed beats a 7 seed. No one's mad. They were the first like big seed to lose. And I was like, of course it happens to me. I should have just taken UConn like everyone else because they just rolled everyone and it wasn't even close. But no, don't get me started on March Madness because oh well, it happens. And I should say, if we're congratulating people, Elliot and Justin are in the finals of our Level Flight league hockey fantasy right now. So we will see how that plays out. Justin projected to score 200 more points than Elliot. So it's looking like that's all but sewn up.
My life ruined right now in the third place game. So it's not good. And I've already just to try and stay into it, I've already used my 4 acquisitions for the week because I was falling behind early, and I'm like, I've got to give myself some hope here. So I've got what I've got, and if they can pull through, we'll see. But unlikely, to say the least.
Unlikely. Real quick, another question from Adam. Who's a bottom team this year you hope can pull it together next year? Rapid fire. Who's
the Ottawa Senators, please?
Yeah. I and this is a Jets podcast, so people won't like it. Chicago. I want to see Connor Bedard is so much fun to watch. Seeing him with some NHL caliber teammates would be.
We're probably going to end up with Celebrini. So,
I mean, yeah, that's what the next like Kane and Taves for the next decade. There it is, Chicago.
Stupid.
Back, yeah, very, very. If they lose, their fans will be salty. Sammy Smokes BBQ Arena. Yep, in Salt Lake.
Get those naming rights.
Get those naming rights. Hey, it's big enough. Breaking into big money can pay up for the naming rights of the stadium. Yeah. We can't go on LFP Live without a brisket reference. Thank you, Matt.
No, we actually that might be the longest we've gone without one.
Right, for sure. This is also the longest show we've ever had because there's a lot of people here with us live. Huge win yesterday for the Jets, 7-0. If you missed it, but thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. Come back next Sunday where it'll be a playoff edition. We'll have the white background behind us here. We got to do our full rebrand to white for the next week here. So we'll get on that for sure. And can't wait to talk about playoff hockey. It's going to be so much fun. They're playing the Avalanche. When the schedule comes out, we'll keep you updated. We will, alter our schedule around the Jets playoff schedule so we can talk about as many games as possible. But yeah, join us next Sunday. Anything else, Brian, on the way out?
Just on the way out, make sure you subscribe. We are within 10 subscribers of 250. We would love to hit that, this, over this next week, so we can head into the playoffs with 250 YouTube subscribers. So as always, thank you to you guys for doing that. Thank you for liking the video on the way out. And then this will be available in replay form later today.
Absolutely. And yeah, stay glued to our socials at Level Flight WPG. We'll have the YouTube up there. We'll have the audio version. I'm going to get that up right away here so people can listen today and tomorrow before the Jets are back in action Tuesday against the Seattle Kraken and Thursday against the Vancouver Canucks. Just a quick programming note. Last thing here. Tomorrow night, we'll be interviewing Garrett Hole of the 5 Hole. You probably follow him on Twitter. That episode will be coming out Tuesday. We're super excited for that. So stay glued to our socials for that. Thank you, everyone. We're going to head out. Enjoy your Sunday. I'm sure it's a beautiful day. It was beautiful yesterday. I haven't looked at the weather, but we don't want to get into the weather here because we're at the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great Sunday, and we will see you on Tuesday. See you.